In a world before smartphones, social media and Kardashians, there was another way to become famous. Back then, all you needed was a compelling story, perhaps some handsome facial features or flowing locks of hair, and most importantly, to be cursed by the evil eye. That's right. From at least the Middle Ages up until today, people were apparently dying from being cursed by the evil eye. So what exactly is it? Is it real? And how can you protect yourself from having your luscious locks taken from you while walking down the street? We're about to find out. Back in the Middle Ages, the main form of entertainment was watching people suffer. The second best form of entertainment was watching other people suffer. If you didn't have any villagers to sacrifice to the gods, you could always play a game called Who Can Make Someone Else Suffer the Most. And one of the most popular ways to enter someone in this competition was through the crime of fascination. Now, there are two major ways to curse someone with the evil eye. The first is by looking at someone with ill intent. In many cultures around the world, the eyes were believed to be the windows to the soul. And if you looked upon someone with malice aforethought, you could literally suck their soul out and kill them. Now, there were different beliefs regarding which eyes were the worst. For example, in Elizabethan England, it was believed that the left eye was connected to the spleen and would cause one to die in a natural death. Meanwhile, the right eye was connected to the heart and carried a much greater death sentence. The sufferer would likely never marry and die alone. If the victim managed to survive this fate, they might have had more luck protecting themselves against the second type of evil eye curse, which was unavoidable. Some people were just born with the evil eye and didn't even know it. They were like walking curses who could murder everyone they laid eyes on, but were completely unaware of their own powers. In fact, these people were often considered heroes because they could defeat enemies simply by winking at them. Evil eye superstitions led to lots of unwanted side effects. For example, you may have seen those products marketed towards new parents claiming to ward off the evil eye. It turns out that this product actually has roots in ancient Rome. There were concerns that jealous mothers would curse their rivals' children with the evil eye, causing them to go blind. As such, Roman mothers would use amulets to protect their kids and sometimes would even take their rivals' curses back with interest by wishing blindness upon them. Another common prevention involved serving a drink to the supposed bearer of the evil eye and then taking their cup and turning it upside down. If water dripped out of the cup, they were innocent. However, if no water came out, well, we hope they liked drowning. While these examples are rooted in superstition, there was also an element of truth behind them. Superstitions spread because they tend to be self-fulfilling prophecies. For example, if you think someone has the evil eye, you're gonna be pretty nervous around them, so you're going to pay close attention to every little thing they do. If they do anything questionable, you're going to blame it on their evil eye, not realizing that your heightened senses caused you to notice things that you would normally overlook. Also, if you believe someone has the evil eye, you're probably not going to hang out with them very much, meaning you won't see them fail at anything. Everyone has good and bad luck from time to time, but you won't see anyone's bad luck if they're never around you. And this brings us to one of the most famous cases of the evil eye in history, Raphael Hideladin. He was a 16th century writer known for his book called The Life of Christ. But he also wrote a lot of travel literature, including one book about his travels in Turkey. In it, he described how Turkish barbers shaved men's faces and warned the readers to watch out for the barber's evil eye. According to him, it was common for barbers to harm clients with their evil eye, so patrons would bring along a cloth to cover their face when getting a shave. Of course, this didn't stop them from cursing people with their evil eye while covered. So patrons would also bring along vinegar to throw in the barber's face. This was either to cleanse them of the curse or as a form of revenge if the patron suspected the barber had cursed them. But we should warn you, side-eyeing is only half the battle. You can also receive the evil eye without looking at anyone, just by existing. It all has to do with envy. In the Ottoman Empire, for example, the Sultan's wife could be put to death if she was caught staring at her reflection too much. She wasn't allowed to admire herself because she was tempting the gods. Even worse, The Sultan could banish anyone who admired his wife, even if they hadn't done it with malicious intent. There were numerous accounts of merchants and diplomats being banished from the empire solely for complimenting the Sultan's wife. While they probably wouldn't have been killed for it, they also weren't getting any sympathy. One Italian writer named Envious once wrote about a man who praised the Sultan's wife so much that he was forced to pay her a visit. And you can probably guess where that ended for him. Now, there's plenty of stories like this one from all over the world. So how far back does this evil eye thing go? And is there any evidence that people really died from being cursed? Well, let's start with the latter question. Unfortunately, yes. Take, for example, the case of the young bride. When she was only 18 years old, she went to stay with her mother-in-law and shortly after died of a sudden illness. Her husband and family suspected the mother-in-law had used the evil eye to kill their daughter-in-law and tried to press charges. The court ruled it was an unfortunate death, but the superstitious townspeople weren't convinced. A few years later, the mother-in-law went to visit her sick son and died suddenly of an illness. This time, the evil eye accusations were dropped. Cases like this one were fairly common throughout history, though often the victims were accused of being evil eye carriers instead of victims. During the Middle Ages, it was common for entire families to be shunned if they had a member who was born with the evil eye. Not only did this prevent them from receiving help in times of need, but it also made it impossible for them to bury their dead. Parish priests across Europe refused to conduct funerals for evil eye carriers and would sometimes even force living family members to dig up bodies that had already been buried. This meant that evil eye carriers had a choice between either risking excommunication themselves by attending a funeral or leaving their loved ones out in the open to rot. Of course, these days, we know that curses can't kill people. So how far back does the evil eye superstition go? Let's take a quick trip to ancient Mesopotamia. In present-day Iraq, archaeologists recently discovered the remains of a woman who was buried in 1800 BC. She was found alongside an inscription that read, "May the evil eye, which may cause the death of a person, not come near my daughter, but may it go far away from my son." This is one of the earliest pieces of evidence for the evil eye superstition. But other similar phrases have been found in texts from Greece, Rome and beyond. It's clear that the fear of being cursed by looking is a universal human emotion. Just ask the actor Corey Haim. He was one of the biggest child stars of the 1980s and early 1990s, starring in movies like Lucas and The Lost Boys. But when he grew up, he became the victim of something called Coreying, a form of the evil eye that only happens to cute guys who look like Corey Haim. Basically, whenever Corey Haim looked at a guy, he would drain them of their attractiveness. Fans noticed this pattern and soon Corey Haim was being blamed for why other actors like Rob Lowe and Charlie Sheen lost their charm as they got older. Even Corey Haim himself noticed the trend and started avoiding eye contact with other actors, thinking this would stop the curse. But it didn't. So how long will this evil eye stuff continue? Who knows? People have been killing each other with their eyes since the dawn of civilization. And it's hard to imagine a world where people stop taking things personally. But we don't recommend testing that theory by trying to kill someone with your eyes. If you want to get into the curse business, it's much easier these days. All you need to do is post a picture of yourself on Instagram and wait for the haters to do the rest. Hey, why not learn something new? Make sure to subscribe and click here to learn about the weirdest crimes in history. Click the notification bell and the subscribe.